Today's episode of The Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown is brought to you by Jeanette McKenzie, Realtor at Forest Hill Signature, Jewelry Forever at jewelryforever.ca, and Beautified by Romina. Enjoy the show.
Broadcasting live from Glenmore Record Studios in Toronto, this is The Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown, your Sunday morning talk show with interesting guests, live musical performances, and the most fun you can fit in your coffee cup. Hosted by Scott Dion Brown and Regine Alaina, this is The Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown.
Hi, everybody. Episode 253?
Yes.
Welcome to episode 253 of The Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown. I am your host, the one, the only, Scott Dion Brown. And I'm joined, although on the other side of the table, just like last week, I am joined by the greatest co-host in all the galaxy, the one, the only,
Regine Alaina. Happy Sunday. Happy wintry weekend. There's a winter storm, not just through Canada this time, but like everywhere. It's like whoosh.
There was quite a storm. Is it happening still right now?
I don't know.
I mean, because in Toronto, like downtown and everything, like I barely saw anything.
I know it's going through other parts of Canada and the U.S. as well.
Yeah. Well, you kind of know firsthand.
I do.
What was your weekend like, Regine?
Well,
not weekend, week. End of the week.
End of the week. Well, I was in San Francisco for a work trip with a bunch of my colleagues, and we were supposed to fly back Friday night. Everyone was like, there's a snowstorm coming, be careful. And I'm like, okay, like it can't be that bad. I've never flown, lies, I have flown through a snowstorm, but not like this, where it was like, we're at the gate, and we're being already warned there's a possibility that we cannot land in Toronto.
Okay.
And so I'm like, well, where the hell are we going to land? Like, Hamilton? I'm thinking, like, where are we going? Like, if you're not sure we can land in Toronto, why are we still making our way to Toronto?
Off? Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, sure. So I'm thinking maybe like they're just being precautious and warning us, but maybe like the winds are going to shift a different way. Like, we don't know. It's a 5-hour flight.
Yeah. So
like, okay. And then we're hovering through Toronto, like the GTA, because they're like, oh, we should be landing soon.
Oh, so
we have clearance that we can potentially land. We're just giving it, and they're giving us like a 30-minute like.
So you'd flown
we're
all the way here.
We're already in the GTA. We're like hovering through.
And you're like circling.
Yeah, like I have a photo on my phone because I took a picture of the map when you're on the plane, and you can see that the plane is literally going in circles.
Oh my gosh.
And there's free Wi-Fi for texting. But at that point, everyone is like, what's happening? So obviously the free Wi-Fi then crashes. And I'm like, you know what? My husband's on his way to the airport. I'm just going to pay for the Wi-Fi and let's see what's going on in the city. Everyone's like, it's not snowing anymore. Everything's fine. But all of the flights, like I think there was like 14 flights, mine included, going to Pearson that were diverted or canceled. And everyone's like, I'm like, oh. So I'm texting my husband, like, don't pick me up. It's okay, go home. I don't think I'm coming home tonight, because all of a sudden it switched from San Francisco to YYZ to Albany. And I'm like, wow. I don't think that's close to Toronto. I don't think I'm coming home. And so I'm like, how long is a drive to Albany? Because I know it's usually like 3 hours on a good day. Because we were like, well, do we just rent a car? Like, what do we do? I'm on my phone searching for a hotel. I'm like, I'm not sleeping at the airport.
So you're still doing this while you're in the air?
Because no one has said anything to us that, by the way, we're switching gears and we're flying to Albany.
You just found this on your own looking it up?
Yeah, because we're like, oh, maybe it's a glitch. Like, maybe something changed. Like, maybe they're going Toronto to Albany. Or we're thinking maybe we're flying, because they're like, oh, we have to fly to Albany to refuel. because now we've been hovering for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
We're running out of fuel. So
wait, so even before you landed anywhere, you did the 5-hour flight and then you were in the air an extra hour and a half. Jeez.
So you can imagine my anxiety was like through the roof. I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? This has never happened before. The girl next to me has been asleep through the whole flight. I'm like, do I tell her? I'm like, no. No. She decided to sleep. And then the person, because I was in the middle row and it sucked. And the guy next to me, he's on his phone now. He's panicking. And I can't read his phone because it's like a whole other language. And like you can hear the murmurs going, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna get to my head. Let's just listen to music and just like ignore the world. Our group chat is going off because we're all in different parts of the plane. We're like, oh my God, what's happening? So yeah, I legit thought that we were gonna fly to Albany, which is like an hour, refuel, and come back. But then I guess because it took us so long to figure out what was happening, airline crew members are unionized, and so they had reached their max hours of working.
Oh, so they weren't able to even get back on the plane and fly anymore.
By law, they weren't allowed to just be like, hey, let's pick up and go. So we get to Albany, and they're like, you all need to take your stuff, get out, like the carousel, whatever's, or you're going to get your checked in luggages and just go to the service desk. And I'm like, go to the service? I'm like, what's happening? I'm like, am I sleeping at the airport? Like, I was just like, I was over it at that point. And so we get there. It takes forever for them to figure out what's happening. I don't blame them because other airlines are also going through the same thing at this point.
Yeah.
And I feel bad because there's people who have flown from like Japan, Vietnam, Philippines direct to San Fran to Toronto, or they're going San Fran, Toronto, elsewhere. And they're all freaking out. And
they're
like,
trapped now in Albany, New York.
And I'm just here, I'm like, y'all can stress, but at the same time, your flight from Toronto isn't going anywhere. Any flights into Toronto, they're not there. So we're all on the same page. Don't worry. Don't be mad. Like, stop being a B word to people. Like, don't do it. You're hangry, you're tired, whatever. So we get in line, everyone's literally tired, everyone's hungry. The flight had no more snacks, no more water. Like, everything was dried out from that flight.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're hovering.
I was going to ask, I'm like, do they give you like extra, usually the drinks start flowing at that point, but
I wish it was, because then I wouldn't have been so anxious. And then I remember, so every Sunday, your mom graciouses all of our guests, and mine included, with a little snack pack.
Little loot bags
and
for the
I
guests.
have saved a bunch of them for when I go on trips and stuff. So I had like a, those like bags from the dollar store, like big zip up bag. And I had a bunch of snack packs in there. And I'm like, oh my God, like grabbed them out and started handing them to people. I'm like, do you want some? Do you want some? Like one guy's like, oh my God, these crackers are so good. And I'm like, either you're really hungry or they are really good. There was like one pack left because it's like one of the only, like not only thing, but like that's usually my go-to. So thank you to your mom for providing snacks for everyone in Albany Airport.
My mom saved the day.
Yeah, so we're all in line. We have no idea what's happening because the crew is still at the plane trying to figure out what the next steps are. So we're all in line trying to figure out what we're doing.
So you landed there, they sent you off the plane, and then they didn't say anything? You're just
They're like, go to
chilling.
the service desk. No one was at the service desk. The airport is so small. It was closed. Like it was like a dead zone.
Yeah.
A ghost town. No one was there. Like all the food, like vendors, restaurants closed. Coffee shops closed. Like everything was closed in that airport except for us.
So how long did they leave you in the airport just doing nothing?
So we landed at 12? So we were supposed to be in Toronto at 10. We got to Albany because we were hovering so much at midnight. And then, excuse me, I think I got to my hotel at 2 a.m. And the reason why we got to the hotel, and we weren't even in the front of the line, we were like middle of the line. People in front of us were talking to Delta through the service or support desk online, and they were able to get them a hotel room.
Okay, so that's good.
And so another colleague of mine, she started calling hotel rooms in the area, and they're like, sorry, we're booked. Sorry, we're full. Sorry, we're full. Sorry, we're full. And we had another 2 people on our team. They were in the front of the line, so they're listening to see what's happening. We're in the middle. We're trying to figure out what's happening. And I was like, you know what? Let me call, because I collect points at different hotel brands. Thank God. Because then I was like, oh, well, I would collect points here. And they're like, oh, okay, I can get you a room. I'm like, well, there's 6 of us. They're like, oh, I can get you 3 rooms. And I'm like, yeah, we'll just bunk. That's fine. And as I'm saying this, she's like, I got 6 rooms all in one hotel. Hang up with them. I'm like, okay, sorry, just kidding. And I hung up the phone. And then we hear someone say, if you get your own hotel room, we will reimburse it.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
So we were quick to be like, book it, we're going. So I'm calling an Uber. She's getting the rooms. I'm collecting people, and we're out of there.
Nice.
And back at a hotel at like 2 a.m.
Was it snowing in Albany?
No.
No.
No, not at all. It was like mist, like a misty rain, no snow.
I completely missed the whole storm because I was just inside.
You were streaming.
Yeah, I guess I was streaming. Yeah, that must be why. So that's why I was hearing about it, and I saw your messages afterwards, and I was like, oh, it must be like really bad out. But
yeah, my husband was like, there's no way you're landing tonight. Like, it was crazy.
Jeez.
I don't even know how he got to the airport, but he was like, I was driving around waiting for your message. And I'm like, I'm so sorry.
You were circling in the air and he was circling on the ground.
The airport, exactly.
Actually, at the airport, they have a lot that you can wait in.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know, but they have one.
Yeah. He don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Because then he gets stuck.
In the lot?
Well, because imagine, like, you're parked, it's a snowstorm.
Oh, I mean, you
but
could
if
get
you
buried.
keep moving.
That's true. Fair enough. Fair enough. That's true. So what a harrowing tale, Regine.
It was wild. Like, I have never been so happy to have, like, I don't really like flying. I hate landing. That's, like, one of the scariest things for me.
Yeah.
And so landing in Albany, like, you can tell, like, this pilot, bless her soul, she was really trying to keep everyone calm.
That's good.
And then it got to the landing part, and it was like, and I'm like, oh no, what's happening? And then we landed. I was like, okay. But then the next day, when we actually were flying home on Saturday, she's like, welcome to the sequel. Like,
Oh, it was the same pilot.
same airline, same pilot, same crew. They're like, okay, it's the exact same flight. You just need your boarding pass. And then you're back on.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, it was good. They handled it.
But it was just like, I wish they handled it quicker. Like,
Yeah.
if you already know that we're hovering in the air, there should be someone at the service desk doing something about it before we even get there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the most frustrating part when stuff like that happens, when there's a delay, is that there's always this stretch of time where like they don't say anything. I remember the same thing even happened when we were traveling and our flight was just delayed or something, right? But there was talk that it might be canceled. I can't even remember why. But again, it's like it's almost because like the person at the gate, they're not being given all the same information. So like, obviously, yeah, everybody's on their phones, everybody's calling, and so people are finding out things even before they're letting the person at the gate know. You know, I don't know. They should work on that. Even if it's just a matter of just like, I don't know. I don't even know what you got to do.
I think also people have to be a little bit nicer to each other.
Yeah.
Like, I come from the world of hospitality.
Yeah.
I work in events. Like, it's all about like the customer or the client's experience.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a very good experience. Like being told, okay, we're going to refuel. And then just kidding, you need to take your stuff out, and not being told the next steps. Like, if they said from the get-go, like, we're booking hotels for you folks, or we'll reimburse you.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a mystery of, oh my God, what's happening?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that was us. It was a matter of what's happening, where are we going, am I going to get fed, am I staying at the airport? And a lot of people didn't know that they were going to get reimbursed.
Yeah.
So instead of waiting in the line, they just stayed at the airport.
And they're sitting there thinking, oh yeah, they can't leave because we're gonna have to pay. Yeah. Yeah. The communication is tough. I mean, I imagine the reason is probably because there's somebody who's making these decisions, and they're probably like, one, they're probably trying everything they can to avoid making people have to spend the night. They're trying to avoid having to pay for people's hotels. So they'll probably wait until the very last second, like, okay, maybe we can get this to clear. Maybe we can get them in the air, blah, blah, blah. And so that I don't know. Anyway.
But it's also nice that
frustrating.
they did that because it wasn't their fault that we had to land.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like, it was the weather. But at the same time, like, we could have flown home that night. They just couldn't because of
Yeah.
their union rules. So
Yep. It's tough.
it was a wild adventure.
Yeah. The only when you when you told the story about them circling in the air, it reminds me of Die Hard 2. Have you seen Die Hard 2?
No, I don't watch stuff like that.
Well, that movie.
Maybe it's a good thing I didn't.
Yeah. Well, that one, the bad guys take over an airport. They take over and specifically the air traffic control. They hack it, so they manage to make one of the planes. So all the planes are circling the airport, and it's Christmas time as well. Same side of thing, winter time, and then the planes can't land because it's a storm, and then like the bad guys, they like contact one of the planes, and they're like, okay, yep, we're going to guide you into land, but then they had shifted it so that the readings were showing that the ground was actually much further than it was, and they made them crash into the ground.
Why would you tell me that story?
Well, you're on the ground now, but I was just getting the memory of it, like oh wow, circling the runway. Yeah, it's like
It was like let me see if I can find the photo. It was literally just going in circles. Did I not send it to you?
I don't remember. You might have actually. You might have. Scary stuff.
I don't have the photo anymore.
That's good.
Oh yeah, I do.
So this is the photo you took of.
Like, look at your screen. Like, look at all those circles.
Oh, look at those lines.
Here, you can see it.
Yeah.
Because I was like, are we landing in Hamilton?
No.
I mean, I'd rather land in Hamilton. And then everyone's like, because everyone was like texting their families and being like, oh, they're like, it's not even snowing here anymore. But again, it's because they ran out of
backup.
hours.
Yeah. I mean, it's the thing. Every plane that's been delayed is now also all trying to land. So,
Because I'm like, if we ran out of fuel, what happens?
I mean, I can tell you what happens.
I don't want to know. So I'm like, yeah, let's just go to Albany, come back another time.
I guess it shows how much extra fuel they must have to be able to stay in the air for like a whole extra hour and then,
Like 3 hours.
yeah. So that's good. I guess they're prepared for these things. Die Hard 2 situation didn't have to play out in its fullest.
It was not fun.
No. Well, I'm glad you made it back.
Me too. I'm back and only to have to go do another work trip in like 2 weeks, but it's not that far of a trip this time. So
And hopefully no snowstorms.
we'll see.
At least now bring a snack pack with you.
I still have extras, so
There you go.
I'll be good.
Boom.
Sponsored by the Sit Down.
Exactly. Yeah, we should put little
Sit Down stickers.
sit down merch and things inside. Just so you know where you got your food from.
Oh my goodness. That man was so grateful for his crackers. He's like, these are so good. And I'm like, they are.
You like them? Tune in live every Sunday
These
at
are
11 a.m.
my crackers.
Yeah.
But
It's good. It's very nice.
your mom fed a whole airplane.
There you go. You're welcome, people. You're welcome. Oh, one thing I wanted to talk about
Yeah.
is actually we have a couple things I want to talk about, but the first one we'll talk about. Actually, no, we'll just say this first. Is I announced it on Instagram
And Facebook.
and
And
Facebook.
YouTube.
I think everywhere. Yeah. I was on TV this past week on this week's episode of Murdoch Mysteries.
You know, I forgot you were on it until you posted it. I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, because it was filmed a few months ago. I don't remember when, but it was a while ago. But I played the part of the big red dog, Clifford. That's me. That's Clifford.
Clifford. I like those glasses.
Yeah, they are actually. What's cool with the glasses? They're
They suit you.
yeah, they kind of they're nice, but they're actually the wardrobe person told me that they're actually 100-year-old, like they're actually actual antique glasses, like 100-year-old glasses.
Were you
Yeah.
scared you're gonna break them?
I wasn't scared, but they weren't that comfortable actually.
Because he's probably squeezed.
They're kind of tight on the side of the head. They put a little mark on the side of my head.
You
And
have a big head. No, I'm kidding.
I have a big head. They're
I'm
tiny
kidding.
glasses. And also the arms, the glasses arms were like it's literally just like wire. So like the part on the end is like sharp.
Ooh.
So you have to be careful. Once they're on, they're kind of on. It's fine. But you almost have to be careful when you put them on and take them off that you don't scratch yourself.
Oh, yeah.
But they looked really cool, and so the only thing they did was they put like modern like lenses, because obviously they don't put prescription lenses on there, so they're just clear glass or whatever. But yeah, so there was his, and then there's that's the wide shot there. So I'm a cobbler. I make boots, and
You do talk about shoes often on this show.
See, it's training. It's getting ready, right? And that's me with Ogden and Margaret, 2 leads on the show. So that was our scene together, and
You had a lot of script.
Yeah, it was nice. It was a nice chunky scene. I was actually very happy with it. It was, it'll be nice in my actor's reel, which is nice, because it's I kind of go through a little bit of an emotional thing as well, because I'm not going to spoil anything. You should watch the episode. It's streaming now on CBC Gem, but I'm happy when I first arrive, but then I find out some stuff, and it's
Yeah.
And there I am. That's me outside my trailer.
Ooh. Did they cut your hair?
They cleaned it up a little bit. But they mostly, because I was asking about it, because they're like, she's like putting stuff in my hair, and she's like slicking it right down, and I was like, oh wow, they really like slick it down. And she's like, yeah, like there was no
time period.
Yeah, she said like there was no, what did she say? She said at that time there was no like volume or anything in their hair, and also the hairstyles were very, I guess almost practical. It's just like very get out of the way, get it down, and then that's it. The only thing that I had to tell her was, so I'm sitting in the chair, right? So you go to hair and makeup, and I think they sent me to hair first, yeah. And she was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to clean up the back a little bit," and then she asked me like something about either when my last haircut was, or like, yeah, she was asking me something specific where I had to be like, "Oh well, actually, I've been cutting my own hair since the pandemic."
Oh God.
Yeah.
Embarrassing.
She was like, "Oh, really?" So then she starts looking. She's like, "Oh yeah, I can kind of see." I was like, "Yeah." I said, "I don't really know what I'm doing. I just kind of snip away at it over time." She goes, "Honestly, it's not the worst I've seen." I was like,
Scott.
"Oh, good."
So
that was
question,
kind of a compliment.
so all that product, to go back to your photo of you as Clifford.
Yeah.
Okay, so clearly there's a lot of product in your hair.
Mm-hmm.
Did you shampoo your hair that day when you washed it off?
No.
What?
I found when I went home and did my usual, like, I shower regularly. So when I got in there and showered, and just massaged, it all just came out. It just came right out. Yeah. Yeah, it all just came out. Or it's still in there to this day.
I was gonna say, I was like, I feel like I'd have to shampoo my hair so many times just to like feel clean about it.
Yeah, no, it seemed to work all right. Like once I, yeah. So again, people who don't normally watch the show will be confused. But so pandemic made me, I started cutting my own hair, because it's like I cut it myself when we couldn't go to the barber, and I kind of just kept doing it. And then I became a
vegetarian during the pandemic.
I became a vegetarian, and then I discovered the no poo stuff. And I decided to try it, which is people who just stop. They don't use shampoo when they shower. They just
he doesn't poo.
That's it. Just hold it in. Never haven't gone since.
Oh.
And I found my hair just kind of neutralized. Anyways, weird stuff, but yeah, it was fine. I didn't need to. But it was fun. You can find it on CBC Gem. Really fun. Good stuff. I was Clifford, the big red dog.
Every time I hear Clifford, that's literally the only thing I think of.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought of as soon as I saw my name. I'm like, oh, that's
You're
fun.
The big red dog.
Yeah. So
have you seen the remake of that, or like
the movie? No, I didn't.
Like the live action of it?
Did you see it?
I haven't, but I've seen like clips of it. It's weird.
Oh. Because
it's literally like a real life giant.
Yeah, I've seen.
Red dog.
I've seen the trailer and stuff. Like they didn't like.
It's weird.
It's like just like in the books. It's a giant red dog.
Yeah, like I guess to me it just makes more sense as a cartoon.
I mean,
some things just should not be live action.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't hear anything about the reviews. I don't know if it was a good movie or not.
I don't either. I was just a little taken back. As someone terrified of dogs, that's a big dog.
Yeah, he is a big dog. He's a big red dog. Yeah. Next thing I want to talk about is this is a potential. This is a segment called "Something Scott Bought." Things Scott bought. Okay.
I thought you were gonna go with the other topic, but yeah, let's do.
Oh no, why don't we do that after the break?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a cool thing. I saw it online. So maybe this is a potential gift idea for any of your guitar playing friends.
We do need an intro for your things Scott bought. Do, 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 do.
Things Scott bought. You know, I should have had the ukulele here, but it's not here.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, so check it out.
Check it out.
What does this look like?
Oh, I know what that is.
But look, it looks just like a stapler, right?
Yes, but I know exactly what that is.
It's kind of a stapler. But check this out, people. So maybe you got a bit of plastic. This here, I think, used to hold cold cuts. All right?
Like a
you know.
bologna thing.
Yeah, exactly.
You just take that from your parents' recycling.
I did. So, you know, normally this would end up just in the recycling bin, and then I don't know if you guys have heard lately, but apparently the recycling programs are actually really inefficient, and actually a lot of stuff that gets thrown in there doesn't end up actually getting recycled, sadly. Anyway, cut it into sheets. I've been doing this with yogurt containers. You can do it with like old gift cards, or like you know, like you get a Starbucks
Anything
card or something.
like thicker.
Yeah, kind of thicker. I think up to 2 millimeters.
Okay.
Okay. Take your bit of plastic.
Your material.
Yeah.
You should do that into the microphone.
Okay. Watch. Put it in here.
Put it into the microphone.
All right. Okay. Actually, this plastic might be a little too thin.
A little ASMR moment.
Hang on. Wait. I did it wrong. It usually works perfect, although I've never used plastic this thin.
Rewind.
We'll try this again. Yeah, this plastic's too thin.
Use something else. Use the Pokemon card.
It works great. Hang on, wait.
You should buy it. This is a great infomercial.
It actually does work, but
Use a Pokemon card.
okay, fine. We're gonna ruin our Pokemon. This is worth a lot of money. Okay, check this out, everybody.
There you go.
And then it fell on the floor.
Just do a new one.
I'll make one more. We'll get it.
Do it closer to the table this time. There you go.
There you go. Check this out.
Whoa.
Custom recycled.
See, now that does look like a cool pick.
Yeah, it does. Custom recycled guitar pick. There you go.
Wow.
So this plastic, I knew when I took it out of the recycling, like I wouldn't make a pick out of this because it would be so light anyway.
So flimsy.
But I found yogurt containers. It works great. I now have, it's weirdly fun to make them. So I have like I'm not even sure, over 100 picks now at
Are
home.
you just boarding?
Yeah. Like basically everything that we're about to throw out, before it goes in the recycling bin, I like wash it and I cut some plastic out of it, and then I turn it into a pick.
He's a hoarder.
Yeah, so now I have this bowl.
But see, look at that. That was kind of cool because you took it out of the holographic Pokemon card.
Yeah, you see?
And now it's a holographic pick.
So obviously, like, this card is probably not gonna
You should have put it on Pikachu's face.
Yeah. Well, that's a cool thing is that. So what I've been doing with the yogurt cart, with the yogurt picks and like everything, is you'll find like most of them, you're just stamping and like whatever is on the pick. But then every now and again, you'll see like, there's like a little logo. Maybe it says like 2% milk on it, or like plain. So I have like and I'll try to center that right in the middle. So like I have one that says like lactose free, plain, right? And it says it on a pick.
Try doing it with the Pikachu.
Okay. I don't know if this is big enough, but
Well, you could try.
I think what I would need to do is
There's another Pokemon card.
here. I'll just
Use scissors.
Yeah. So what I find you have to do sometimes if you're trying to get like a nice pick, or like you want a certain part, you have to kind of line it up where you want it. Yeah, that should work.
Pika.
So now here you got like a little Pikachu face on it.
Cute.
Yeah. Now this actually would probably work as a pick pretty good. It's cardboard, but it's got a little bit of a plasticky coating to it. So anyways, you can get picks of different thicknesses. I don't know if this is, like I just said, this could be a good gift idea for like your guitar playing, but I'm not sure if that's true or if I'm just kind of a weirdo because I like making picks now.
No comment.
Yeah.
You said it, not me.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But I do literally find like, so it's like, there's a yogurt container, and I like cut it.
Question, what does your girlfriend think of this new hobby of yours?
She's like, what are you going to do with all these picks? And I'm like, I'll never run out again. I'll never buy picks again, which is probably
true. You can make like
true.
a necklace out of it.
You can anything pick shaped. Well, actually, you know what I was actually thinking about was like when I have shows, right? I have a merch table where I'm selling like, you know, T-shirts and buttons and things. I was thinking about having like a bowl that just says like recycled pics, $1 for 20 or something. Because why not? You could. But it's also the kind of thing where if I'm recording people, anytime people come to the studio now, I'll be like, "You want some pics? Here, have some pics."
Get a sit-down pic.
Yeah. Well, they're not branded with sit-down pics, but they're, hey, well, that's the cool thing. So like I cut up like a bruschetta container. So now like I have a pic with like tomatoes all over it. I have like a tomato themed pic.
Oh,
So they're unique.
Question. Is 2024 the year of things Scott bought? Useless things Scott bought.
I wouldn't say useless, Regine. I would say very, very useful. Because you know why I bought this? Because
It's also a good weapon.
it's actually way heavier and bigger than I thought it was going to be, but I guess it makes sense for having to punch through plastic. But like I bought it because, you know, I can't remember the last time I purchased picks. Because you always just have a bunch. As musicians, you just have a bunch. But I guess I was finally getting to the point where like you kind of lose them over time. Like you dropped them somewhere
Bobby
or
pins.
like, yeah, I think, you know what? Exactly like bobby pins. Exactly like bobby pins. And so like I finally got to the point, like in fact, even this past summer when we were at what event? Oh, we were at the Philippines one. What's it called?
Taste
of Manila. We were at Taste of Manila. And like I got up on stage, I plugged in my amp, I plugged in all my stuff.
Yeah, you borrowed a pic.
Yeah, I literally like I just look in my bag and I look at my pocket, I'm like, oh, I have everything ready and I have 0 picks.
Can you play the guitar without a pic?
Yes, but
Yes, but no.
yeah, okay, it's like this. Yes, I definitely can, right? But it's a completely different sound. It's not as loud, and it's also just like the songs that I practiced, the rehearsed, and how I play now. It's all with a pick. So like, I don't do a lot of finger picking, and so if I was playing without a pick, I would probably just end up using my nail, like going like this. You can do it, but it's one uncomfortable, and it just doesn't sound as good, and there's less control.
I feel like my nails are like a pic then.
Yeah, some musicians do, like they'll actually
Grow out their nail.
Yeah, I've seen some guys who do that. I could never do that because I'm too, like, I like to keep my nails nice and short. I couldn't do it. But anyways, so at least now what I've done is this thing also came with a little leather pick holder with like a key ring for a keychain. So I have that on my keys, and I bought 2 more of those, and I have another one hanging off of my guitar bag, and then
More
the third one.
things Scott bought.
Yeah, I should have brought those too. But so what I've done is I've basically stuffed them full of like all recycled picks, you know? And so now it's kind of just replenish your stuff. So now it's like, I will be good. Well, for now, forever. Because I didn't even plan to buy this. I was just going to buy a couple picks and a pick storage bag.
How much is something like that?
It was $26.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not even that
Just
expensive.
checking. I was like,
And the thing is, like, the cheapest picks I think you can get, I know, like, if I go to Long and McQuaid, you can get like their Long and McQuaid branded picks. And those last time I was there, which was a while for looking at their picks, but they're cheap. You can get them cheap. But still, I mean, you'll spend, you know, say you spend $1 for like 10 picks, right? I spent this amount, and I will never buy picks again, as long as I don't lose this. And this is harder to lose than a pick, right? You figure?
I know you, and I let's see how long you can have it. If you use it often, I guess you won't lose it.
What's the thing? Now I'm so like I said, I've got now, like I had a little bowl, so I grabbed a little bowl like this big, right?
We should use that the next time we do a giveaway. We could just use that as a paper cutter.
Yeah. I mean, it has multiple uses. If you ever need, even if it's not picks, if you just need, just like little this sized pieces of paper, you get more uses, Regine. More uses. But yeah, so like I said, I've been in the habit now of basically every yogurt container or gift card. So I've chopped up a bunch of things. Every plastic food container. I figure it's good for the environment, right? But anyway, every single one in the last week has been turned into a bunch of picks. So now there's like way less waste. But the thing is, if I
clutter.
Well, yeah, but if I keep on this pace, like I'm going to have just thousands of picks, right? Like it's too many picks. I'm not going to need this many picks. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Because anyway, what I was saying, I had a little bowl and I filled it. And then like literally like 2 days later, I had to upgrade to a bigger bowl. Like I switched to a larger bowl.
You're going to need to bring that bowl home.
Yeah, soon it's going to be like a punch bowl. I'll have to bring some up here as well. Like I think to keep in this studio, again, I'll just give them to artists who come. I think that'll be nice. So anyways, save the planet. Make some pics.
I need to pee.
Oh, you do? Okay, well, why don't we, let's
Sorry.
let's do a little break then. Perfect timing, Regine. Regine's going to run to the washroom, and I'm going to tell you guys about fantastic advertisers who make this show possible. Let's meet them, shall we? Let's meet them. Ladies and gentlemen, the Toronto real estate market is growing and changing every day. In these challenging times, you need someone in your corner. Jeanette McKenzie, Realtor at Forest Hill Signature, is committed to looking out for you. She'll go the extra mile to ensure you have all the information you need to make a decision you can feel confident about. Purchasing a home is one of the biggest financial investments you'll make in life. Don't leave it to chance. Call Jeanette McKenzie at Forest Hill Signature. She's my realtor. That's right. The place I'm living in right now. She helped me find it, and the one before, actually. She's my realtor. She could be yours. Call today at 416-523-0408 or email at JMckenziehomes@gmail.com if you are in the Greater Toronto area. She's fantastic. Give her a call. Jewelry forever. Conveniently located at CF Markville Shopping Center on 5000 Highway 7 East, Markham. They do custom-made jewelry. They do repairs. They do custom laser engraving. That's right. Do you need something engraved? He can do it with a machine that goes really, really cool things you can do with a custom laser engraving machine. And of course, they change watch batteries. They also do jewelry cleaning. Some of the stuff that I've seen him do, you guys should follow Jewelry Forever on Instagram and TikTok. He's blowing up on TikTok, hundreds of thousands of followers on TikTok. And the reason is because he shows some of the amazing things that he's able to do. There was one where a ring got completely crushed flat by a car.
Yep.
And he was able to just completely restore it using the power of jeweling. Yeah.
Welding.
I mean, all the magical tricks he does.
Yeah.
So find out more at jewelryforever.ca. Beautified by Romina.
Internationally trained hair and makeup artist. She is the official hair and makeup artist of the Sit Down. Not only does she do our hair and makeup for photo shoots and live events, when we MC and stuff.
Yep.
But she also does corporate headshots, pageants, weddings, engagements, date nights.
Anything and everywhere you can need to be beautified.
Exactly.
She's fantastic. I went on vacation once. Went in the water. I wore sunscreen, but for some reason the sunscreen came off only on my nose. I got burned right on my nose, bright red, looked like a strange clown, and I had to go on stage. Guess what?
Beautified,
exactly.
Check her out on Instagram and Facebook at Beautified by Romina.
Boom. If you would like to advertise on the show, it's very easy, right, Regine?
It's simple. All you have to do is email us at that's radioshowad@gmail.com.
That's right. We should do the show live every week, people, and we also do the ads live week to week. What does that mean? It means you can personalize them week to week. Do you have an event? A sale? Something happening at a particular time in a particular place? You let us know. We let your potential client base know in real time. It's a great way to build a brand new relationship with a brand new audience. Get in touch. Radio Show Ad, Radio Show AD at gmail.com.
And we're back.
And we're back, everybody. And Regine is back.
And I'm back.
Made it back. Made it back just in time for the Beautified by Regine.
I know. I was like, I need to time this properly.
Yeah. Worked out. It worked out. Something I wanted to talk about, I think we should. It's good, actually, because we kind of talked about it briefly last week.
Yes. Regifting? No, I'm kidding.
That was a good
Have you regifted something since? Oh.
That's all I did. That's all I spent this last week
it.
doing. Every gift I had has been given to someone else. The Golden Globes. We were talking about, obviously, Joe Coy last week. First Asian of any kind, I think, to MC the Golden Globes. And we predicted, he's great. He's funny. He's going to do a great job. Now, I will say I didn't watch the Golden Globes. I kind of forgot about it.
Yeah.
But I did start seeing a lot of negative reviews from the Twitterverse, from the Threads-verse, kind of all the verses. YouTube too, actually. So that prompted me. I'm like, okay, everybody was mostly talking about the monologue.
Yeah.
So I went on YouTube and I watched his opening monologue. And what are your thoughts? Let's get your thoughts, Regine. How do you feel about Joe Coy's? Did you watch it live?
I did.
And your thoughts?
So as a Joe Coy fan, you could tell he was nervous. You can definitely tell he was nervous. I mean, he was so starstruck, and he said it many, many times that he was starstruck.
Yeah.
So I give him a little bit of slack there. Another thing, I know you and I talked about it off air, is I've seen him live, so I already know that his jokes are usually most likely going to be inappropriate anyway, because that is the type of, he's a comedian. He's a stand-up comedian who does accents, who also makes dirty jokes as his stand-up.
Yeah.
And so, yes, there's something that maybe he shouldn't have done based off of the type of event that it was. I still think he's funny. I mean, I laughed. And he did make a point to say that some of the jokes that he said were not his original content.
Yep.
So imagine being a professional stand-up comedian having to do someone else's jokes.
Yeah. I mean, that's...
Obviously, you're going to bomb. Like, if I try to sing one of Scott's original songs, it's not going to sound the same as the original.
It might sound better, Regine.
It might sound worse because you haven't heard me sing. I'm just saying, my
Fair enough.
stomach is making a lot of noise. I'm so sorry.
It's not coming through on the
Okay.
mics. It's not coming through on the mics. I didn't hear it.
I'm like, anyways, your thoughts?
Okay. So, first thing I will say, the overall internet reaction,
So mean.
it's mean, but I think it's also a little overblown. It's a little over dramatic. Like I was seeing a lot of, I mean, I know that it's the internet. I know it's clickbait, and especially YouTube, they want to click on the video.
Yeah.
But like so many titles, like worst Golden Globes opening ever, terrible, really inappropriate, right? I'm like, so I was seeing these things first. And I was like, really? Like, what did he do? Like, how bad was it? I watched it, and there were some weak spots, for sure. But it wasn't as bad as everyone's saying it was. He was definitely, you are right, he was definitely nervous. And the thing is, again, you and I have both hosted a lot of events, right? Nothing close to obviously the
Golden Globe.
the Golden Globes. Although I will say in terms of size of the room, we've hosted ones, and we've hosted events with more people in them than that. But it's different
imagine
to have...
us hosting where Meryl Streep is right
That's the thing.
there.
Obviously,
I'd be like, "Ooh."
obviously, like the type of crowd you're dealing with is very specific. But the thing that I can empathize with him, or rather relate to with him, is I do remember when you're hosting an event, there's this feeling where, because you and I think both, like, we kind of try to get a rapport going with the audience. So there's this feeling of like, we kind of have fun with it a little bit, make it feel like the audience is in on it, in on the joke with us.
Yeah.
Right? That's what we go for. And I find there's always a moment, especially at the beginning of the show, when you first walk out. Yeah. They don't know who we are. They don't know us. They don't know what our vibe is. Right? And there's this feeling of like, again, maybe you say something, or I'll say something that I want to come across as kind of funny and a little goofy, and I'm listening for that, like that.
You're reading the room.
Yeah, I'm listening for that audience reaction of like, oh, you hope to get a couple laughs going, right? And when those don't come, there is this feeling of like, oh shoot, the audience is not with me right now. They're not with me, and like it kind of sometimes takes a while to get them with us, right? And now that's a pressure that we feel. And we're not stand-up comedians. Like, it's completely different when now it's not only like that's your job to host this event, but like people expect you to come out there and be hilarious and be funny, right?
You know what's sad though? It just, I don't want to talk about the joke code for a second, but to your point, it's harder to watch. It's harder to watch Scott MC with another person and them not get your commentary or like the story behind it, because I get it in the audience and I'm like, okay, no one's laughing.
Yeah, it's that's the thing. you and I have a good rapport on stage.
Yeah.
So when I have to MC with somebody else, especially if they put me with somebody who's like not an MC, you know,
Or they don't know you.
that too. Yeah. So they're not sure how to. Yeah. So it exactly.
The dynamic changes, and I'm just like, ooh.
Yeah.
But anyways, back to Joe Coy.
Yeah. So okay. So I'll say from that perspective, I can understand the difficulty of going into a room like that. Other thing that's interesting to me is like I watched a bunch of other interviews with a bunch of other because they talked to a bunch of comedians pretty much after this event. Every comedian that they could find, they were like, "Hey, what'd you think of Joe Coy's?" You know, and they were all very supportive, right?
Yeah.
And they all had the same thing to say: is that the Golden Globes room, right? It's a very, very difficult room
Yeah.
to go into.
So then why do they get comedians to host it?
I mean, because hopefully it'll
They should
be
just get
funny,
us.
right? Yeah. Well, like again, you know, certain comedians can do it. Like, I mean, Ricky Gervais, I mean, is
Yeah.
famously the best ever, basically, at doing it. The other thing that's interesting, though, like you mentioned, the 10 days, right? So, for example, something I watch is like Jimmy Kimmel. Apparently, he'll prepare for like 6 months
Exactly.
for this event, right? Like literally 6 months in advance, he's writing the material, probably workshopping it, right? He's got a probably team of writers and they're all working on stuff. And part of the reason I think they were hiring the host only 10 days before is because no comedians want this gig because it's such a difficult room, right? Like the thing that they were saying is like, for starters, well, again, Joe Coy, he sells out arenas all over the world, right? He's hugely famous, right? But he's not, if you're Filipino, he's a household name, right? If you're not Filipino, maybe you've heard of him, you might have seen him, but he's not like broken through to that, like,
He's not Ricky Gervais. He's not.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Dave Chappelle, right? He hasn't broken to that, right? So walking into the Golden Globes room,
A lot of people are like, who is
probably
this
don't know
man?
him. Yeah, don't know what he's about. Don't already like him, right? It's very different when somebody, again, like Ricky Gervais comes up. They all know this guy. He's one of their people, right? So, but for him to be offered the gig and getting it 10 days early is because I think nobody else wanted the gig. So he took it. Obviously, he took it because it's like, wow, it's a chance to get on this big stage.
Exactly.
But realistically, it actually wasn't enough time to prepare. But okay, so the thing I did want to break it down a little bit because there's a couple things that I'm not sure of, and I can say also the parts that were the most awkward for me in his delivery
Yeah.
weren't even the jokes themselves.
His response to it.
Yeah, it was like, and here's a question I have because I don't know, but maybe I suspect it could be the case. Watching it, every joke he delivered, you hear people laugh, but then like 2 seconds after he delivers it, he would then say something like, oh, that's a good, like he would talk as if nobody laughed, but I'm hearing laughter. So I don't know if they, like the producers, are adding laugh tracks or if in the room there's some people laughing, but to him it sounded dead silent. So I'm not sure, but it sounds like in the room, like I think if he had just done the jokes and just like rolled with it and kept going, it wouldn't have been as awkward. But because he kept having to like,
I think what it was is he was really nervous.
oh, definitely, yeah,
Because as like I've seen him live, and he just like does that. He rolls with the punches. He goes with the
Yeah.
crowd. But again, you're giving your original content plus another person's jokes.
yeah,
That I think were the ones that he was uncomfortable saying.
yeah. I mean, I think it could be that, and I think it's also. I mean, the thing is, I will say, like, I don't think, even though other people wrote the jokes, I don't think it was like, these are the jokes you have to say. I think it was more like he had people writing with him because to get help. But I think he probably approved everything that was there, I would imagine.
I think he was also reading the room and realizing that, okay, it's not hitting.
Yeah.
He's like, I had secondhand embarrassment, but at the same time, I also have seen him live, so I know how his jokes are.
Yeah.
And those Barbies have big boobies jokes
Yeah.
literally is his kind of comedy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's true, Barbies do have big boobies, so I don't know why people were so offended by it.
You see, yeah. So here, that's the second part. Okay. So first we were just talking about like, you know,
The awkwardness.
it was awkward. And I do think like the biggest mistake I think he made was he went a little too hard on the, oh, these jokes aren't landing. And again,
He should have just ignored them.
yes, I will say the part when he said about I got this thing 10 days. You want a perfect monologue? I thought that was great. And actually the audience, again, we don't know, I don't know how real the laughs we're hearing are. I laughed at that part. Yeah. Again, if they were adding extra laughs for the TV audience, then that would explain why, right? But assuming that there was some actual reaction, that was good. The problem is he held on it a little too long. Like, even, for example, he talked about how much he loves Robert De Niro, and that was a nice moment. But then he kind of kept going with it just a little too long, where it went from being, oh, that's cute, to it's a little awkward, right? So I want to say it happened maybe like 3 times. The worst one, I think, was when the one about white people stealing everything joke.
I don't know.
Right?
I don't think it.
Well, no, that one didn't land because he went the longest with that of not even the joke itself, about, oh, people didn't react, and he said something like, that's a good joke, this is just a very white room. He said something like that.
But then why was it okay for Simu to make a comment about white people rules?
Oh, yeah,
and
no,
that was okay.
Yeah, it's not. The joke for me was not the issue. It was that it was his.
I mean, I giggled.
Yeah, it was just his the
Delivery.
after joke delivery is what made it awkward. Because you're right, I know taking shots of white people is like, it's.
It was a
everyone's
very
doing right
Asian
now.
dominated night.
Yeah, I didn't watch it. I don't know. But
It was, and it was very successful as an Asian person. I'm like, wow, that's amazing to finally see Asian people winning.
Yeah. But no, I'm saying, well, yeah. But what I'm saying is, like, the problem for me wasn't the joke. It was his
reaction.
his need to, like, kind of try to talk about how it didn't land. And again, for me watching it on TV, again, maybe they added laughs. It sounded like people were laughing. So for him to say that's for me what made it awkward. But anyways, yeah.
I mean, I was fine with it. I do feel like I felt bad because he was really, like, you can tell that he was uncomfortable
For sure.
on that stage, which sucks because if this is something that you've worked so hard towards, it'd be like you and I emceeing. We're so excited to do it, and then we just flop.
Yes.
And what the worst part is there's all this talk about cancel culture and, like, canceling Joe Coy. I'm like, that's not okay. First of all, this is a man who does this for a living. He knows what he's doing. Go watch him live before you dig at him. And a lot of the people who are commenting are probably people who are white. People who do find it offensive.
Well, yeah.
And the whole Taylor Swift thing, like,
Yeah.
it was a joke, all right? And, like,
Yeah, this is the second part I want to talk about as well, is because. Well, do you want to finish your point? I think I
it's
cut you
just, to
off.
me, it's just, like, it's frustrating when there's, like, obviously Taylor Swift has a following. So
Yes.
obviously people are going to come at him, but it's not a joke that hasn't been said before.
Yeah, well, yeah. So exactly. So now,
Or not even a joke. It's not a comment that hasn't been made before.
Yeah, well, that's So that's the second thing I
that's
wanted to. But the second thing I wanted to comment on was the specifics of, like, I think the reason the negative reaction was so intense, right? Were because one of the jokes was about Taylor Swift, and I think all of the fandoms that have a large percentage of, like, young people, teenagers, kids, they're, like, some of the most toxic fandoms out there, right? And so the funny thing, obviously, about the joke, one, it was like a nothing joke.
It was a fact.
Yeah. Well, sure. Yes. It definitely was a fact, but it was also, like, one, it wasn't even about her. It was a joke at the NFL's expense at how they keep cutting to her during NFL games. Okay. That's number one. Number two, even though it was a shot at the NFL, it wasn't even, like, a big shot. Like, it's not like he pointed out anything. It was completely innocuous in terms of the joke, right? It was nothing. But because there's a certain element of that type of fandom that, like, sees her as a literal goddess, right? Any even perceived slight is just like they want to destroy that person,
And that's
right?
why we don't talk about her on the show.
Sure. Like, yeah, maybe I'm inviting some, but whatever. It's the same thing gets said of, like, K-pop fans, right? Anytime you say anything about their favorite K-pop person,
The army comes for you.
Yeah, like, aggressively, right? In a borderline psychotic way, right? And so I think that's sort of the same idea. Same thing with the Barbie thing. It was like a silly goofy little joke.
He's like, Barbies have big boobies. Have
Yeah.
you not seen a Barbie doll?
Yeah,
They do
exactly.
have big boobies.
And even the writer director of the Barbie movie commented after, like being like, yeah, I mean that was kind of the point of like they were trying to
The stereotypical Barbie.
yes, exactly. But again, because people online perceived it, oh, this is misogyny, da, 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 and so the reaction was like so aggressive over something that was just nothing.
But that's what cancel culture is.
Yeah, yeah,
But then if you continue watching the rest of the Golden Globes, he just dumbed it down. And I feel bad because he probably like dreamed about this and was like so hyped about it. And then he probably went online or felt bad about what was going on and the response that was going on. So instead of really giving it his all and being in the moment and being like, this is like the greatest job on earth, it was just like, all right, and next up presenting Scott Dion Brown.
yeah. And then I walked out and I was like,
And I'm like, I felt bad because I'm like, imagine, like, I think, like you said, like putting ourselves in the host's shoes,
yeah,
right? Like we hosted Taste of Manila, which was maybe one of the biggest gigs that we've done together.
yep,
And it was like, we had a big crowd, but it wasn't the biggest crowd. But imagine if we flopped that, or Von Fiesta Extravaganza, like, we would have been like, oh.
yeah.
Or when we hosted and the mayor was there, like there was like all these people from government. Imagine if we flopped that. Like I can only imagine putting myself in Joe Coy's shoes and being like, this is the biggest gig I've ever done.
Yep.
And the response is terrible. Like I would feel bad too.
It's a very awkward feeling when, like, for me, the times I've noticed it the most is when I've had to host like a corporate type gig, you know, where it's like, you know, there people there, it's like a business thing, or like I hosted events where it's like, yeah, it's our big sales conference dinner or something, right? So everybody's there kind of they're in professional mode, like, yeah, we're here they're mingling
until the drinks start flowing.
yeah, exactly, right? And then also there's the entire other side of it's like, I'm up here trying to keep the show moving, but like I know half the people in the audience, like they're probably not even listening, you know? And so you kind of, it's an awkward moment if you're trying to say something and then just to get a little rise or get a laugh, and then you realize, oh, they're not with it at all.
And that's what, for me personally, that's why I don't like scripts.
Yeah.
Because it gives us an opportunity to actually like improvise and read the room. And if we need to get Scott walking like a pageant girl, we're going to get Scott walking like a pageant. Like I've done that many times. Sorry.
Yes.
Just to like, if it's awkward and it's silent and they need something, it'll be like, so Scott.
It's always rough, especially with jokes. Like sometimes
And we ain't even funny.
yeah, but like, and sometimes we've been given like a script that might have like a joke or like the reaction to something is written in it. Like it'll say like, "Wow, that was amazing, don't you think?" Right? Like it'll say that,
It'll be like,
and it's like, oh. So usually, if we get a script like that, we kind of just gloss over it a little bit.
well, I've emceed with other people and I've had scripts, and you've been in the room for it, and I've had scripts, and I don't want to say what's on there, and I'm like, wow, and then the person next to me is like, wow, that was amazing, you all did a fantastic job, and like they read it and say it, and I'm like,
Yep.
yeah, that was awesome. Like
Yep.
I want to give my actual initial thought and reaction rather than what was already given to me.
Yep. The most awkward script I ever got, and I didn't read it, was because so I had to. I was emceeing. I think it was a pageant actually. Wasn't with you, but there was like a musical performance, and the musical performance was like being delivered by like I think she's like a 12-year-old girl or something, right? And the script I think was written by like a 60-year-old Filipino woman. Okay, old
Okay,
old
I get
lady,
it, yeah.
right? And the line after her performance was to write, "Wow, what a great performance from whatever her name was. She's been performing since she was 6, and now she's blossomed into a beautiful young woman." Right? And I'm like, and so that's what the script said. And I'm like, okay, this would sound
Creepy.
fine for the 60-plus-year-old woman reading this. It's weird for like
You.
this
It'd be
man
creepy
to be
for
like,
you to do it.
"Hey, everybody, don't you guys think she's blossomed into a beautiful young woman?" So I just went, round of applause for this person.
I would
everybody."
have been like, Scott,
Yeah.
you good?
Just a little awkward, Anyway, but about with Joe Coy, the other thing is, yeah, so talking about that room and how it's a very different room. You know, like Joe Coy's, again, he sells out stadiums, but it's one thing to do a stadium show to a group of people who bought tickets to see you and already like you. And it's very different from going into a room of a whole bunch of people that a lot of them have giant egos, and a lot of them are not very comfortable being made fun of. And they're also very, very aware of how they're perceived, right? And how they're, you know, and so a lot of them just won't be very humorless. Like when you tell a joke at their expense, they just can't take the joke.
I mean, Selena Gomez at one point looked really uncomfortable.
Yeah. I mean, well, we saw Ricky Gervais pointed out the most. Like when he went in there and just really started roasting them and nobody expected him to do it. Like these guys, these Hollywood celebrities were really, really uncomfortable with it, right? So we know a lot of them don't like this anyway.
They can't laugh at their own selves.
Yeah. And they're not that aware of how the public sees them, right? Because Ricky Gervais was kind of saying things, I think, that the audience, you know, has either been reading about them in the tabloids or was thinking about it, you know.
He just said it.
Yeah, and he just said it out loud in front of them, right? So one, you're going in front of a room of those people who, one, aren't very humor filled, right? And they don't really know him.
Yeah.
So anyway, tough room.
Very tough room. But I also find that for someone like Joe Coy, specifically him, again, being a fan of his, I do feel bad because a lot of the things that he does, because he's a Filipino comedian, he is not very well known. That's bad English. He is well known for, you know, doing his mom's accent, doing a Filipino accent. Like he's known as Joseph, not Joe Coy.
Yep.
And like even his movie Easter Sunday was a flop because to a certain audience, it didn't make sense. Right? Like if you are not immersed in Filipino culture, if you haven't grown up with Filipino people or have been a part of that community, you wouldn't get it. And so to a lot of people, they didn't like it. Where to someone like my husband, for example, who is now married into a Filipino family and has seen the culture, he thought it was freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
Obviously, I did too, because that is what I grew up with and it was relatable. So I just feel bad because like he does try really hard to, I guess, push the barrier for a lot of Filipinos and a lot of minorities in the industry.
Yep.
And it's always like, there's always that pushback.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I think the jokes landed. Like when he started, he did that thing with talked about his mom and talked about Meryl Streep.
Like that's his comedy. That's his comfort zone.
Yeah, and that landed very nicely. Like that part landed. In fact, the thing is, I will say, most of the monologue, from my view, was pretty funny. It landed pretty well. There were basically 3 moments that I can think of that were not good. And I have to think that they must have been playing fake laughter in the TV presentation, because
maybe there were laughter
like further
parts,
away,
and he just didn't hear it.
Yeah, because I remember I was watching an interview with some comedians talking about Norm Macdonald at the roast of Bob Saget, right? He went out and it's like really famous performance of his, but he did a whole bunch of like old-timey jokes, and usually these celebrity roasts, they're really filthy jokes. And he went out and did a bunch of like clean jokes from like the 30s.
Weird.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, the comedians on stage found it hilarious because it was like he was being bad on purpose. And what's funny is when you watch the performance, like you hear audience laughter, but watching the interview with these comedians talking about it, he said that in the room at the time, it was just dead silent. It was dead silent. The audience hated it, but he was enjoying that he was making the audience hate it. That was the thing he was doing. Point is, it's not unrealistic for them to add laughter.
Soundtracks,
yeah. So maybe they did, but let's say they didn't, and you were right. It could just be like there was laughs here and there, maybe near the microphones, but he wasn't hearing it. So what probably happened is he went on stage, he told his first few jokes. He thought, oh my God, they're not landing. And that thing starts to happen when you're
overthinking it.
Yeah.
You do that.
I do that. Exactly. So that's the thing. Like I was very much empathetic with what he was going through. And that's why, like, so he says the joke, oh, that joke didn't land. So he had to feel the need to laugh it off a little bit, and probably even then laugh it off because he was already nervous, it didn't come across
Yeah.
quite right. And it just must have felt, it must feel weird to go up and say things that you think the audience will laugh and then they just don't.
But it wasn't just Joe Coy. It was a lot of the presenters that went up there that tried to make a joke, and it was just awkward.
Yeah, so I haven't watched any of the rest of the show, but in general, it wasn't very funny.
It was very, like, there were some where it was like, yeah, it was funny, and then some of it wasn't. Like, I had mentioned, like, how Simu went and presented an award, and I don't remember, I'm not good with actors' names. I don't even know how to say Simu's last name. He went up and presented with the Barbie president, the actor that played the Barbie president, and they were talking about how we loved, I love playing white people roles. And then they kind of like broke down what a white people role is.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the nicest. It was like, oh, I want to play a alcoholic father who da 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 da. And I'm like, now I get it, but I was also like, oh, this is awkward.
Yeah.
But that didn't get as much hate as Joe Coy saying Barbie has big boobies.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think the problem was, it's not even the how bad or good the joke was. It was that he picked a couple targets that specifically online, there is a fan base there that are very, very protective.
He attacked certain. He didn't mean to attack them, but
Thing is, attack isn't even the right.
but they're attacking
word.
him.
Well, yeah, they're attacking him. But again, it's because even a perceived slight is just like the worst thing you could do. The other thing that's funny about the Taylor Swift one is like,
Careful, they're gonna come for you.
no, but I'm saying her reaction, everyone's saying, look at that, it was like a death stare. But the thing is, I also wonder, it almost kind of looks like they just caught her in the middle of taking a sip of wine.
Yeah, it was like it wasn't like it was panned on her the whole time.
Yeah.
It was like maybe her initial reaction was already over by the time it was made.
She might have not even heard it.
Exactly.
Like, that's the other thing you have to remember is like, it's
a loud room.
to me, it looked like they happened to catch her when she was just taking a sip. Now, maybe she heard it and she didn't. But again, even in that case, if you actually listen to the joke, it wasn't even really about her and it wasn't at her expense.
And I just feel bad because all these Swifties are like attacking him
Yes.
on his social media, and I'm like, what?
Well, I mean, I know why, because like I said, all of the fan bases that are predominantly young people are kind of
They're
terrible
brave.
online.
Yeah.
Like they can be really mean, and mean in a way that like they don't realize. I think you need to get a little bit older before you can understand.
But there's also older keyboard warriors out there.
Yeah, but I think most of the toxicity is from young people, and they're like the god-like status they give to the people that they want to protect, and so it's yeah, like there's almost no end to what they're willing to do, and they also have more time because they like don't have jobs and stuff because they're kids.
You know what's wild to me is that the Golden Globes and the Emmys were on at the same time.
The Emmys were on at the same time.
Exactly. The Emmys are on. The Emmys weren't even. I don't think they were even aired, but the Emmys happened the same time as the Golden Globes. Why would you do that?
I didn't know that was a thing. I had no idea.
I thought they were supposed to be at separate times, and then all of a sudden I started seeing like all these posts like, "Congratulations, Derek Huff, for winning an Emmy," and I'm like,
Oh,
"The Emmys were on."
that's weird. I had no idea.
Yeah,
That.
I'm like,
Okay.
I wonder how many more celebrities are there versus there.
Yeah, that's weird. I have no idea. I didn't hear about that.
Maybe I don't know. Joe Coy should have made a joke about the Emmys. Like, you missed your shot.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just tough. I mean, again, I think he'll be fine. Like, his fan base is still his fan base. Obviously, I think...
I mean, now people know who he is.
Yeah. I mean, they do. Whether that's going to be...
I just hope he's not as defeated because...
My guess, look, the truth is he's a comedian. He's been doing it for many, many years. I'm sure this is not the first time he's bombed, because every comedian bombs. That's how you get good at being a comedian. So I'm sure he'll be fine. I'm sure he's probably... What I can imagine, if I'm going to psychoanalyze him for a minute,
Go for it.
going on myself, is that when you're trying to, like, you know, get yourself out there, and every now and again opportunities come your way, and when that opportunity comes, you build it up in your mind like, oh, this is the one.
Yeah.
You know? So I don't know if in his mind, again, as a comedian, he's probably trying to, you want to break up to the Dave Chappelle, level, right? And he thought, oh wow, this is the chance for me to actually be on the world, like the biggest stage I've ever been on. Probably not literally, but in terms of the number of eyes that will be on him. So he probably built up like, wow, this is going to be awesome, which is why he probably took the gig with only 10 days, because he's like, of course, yeah, let's do this. And my guess, he's probably disappointed because what he thought was going to be the big thing
The
ended
best
up
day
not.
ever. Yeah.
And like that's happened to me where like, wow, I think this is going to be huge, and then it happens and it's like, oh, it was actually just kind of okay. It was, oh, it was fine, and you kind of hyped it up in yourself, or you thought it was going to be great and then you didn't do a good performance, which I've done as well. It happens. I think he'll be fine. And again, I think in terms of the stand-up comedy community,
I think they need to just stop having stand-ups as hosts.
well, I mean, that's the issue is that, and the reason they had him is because nobody wants the gig, right? I don't know necessarily if the answer is to not have them, but
Just don't have the roast then as part, or like a monologue as an intro.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, again, the reason that they have it is because comedians like Ricky Gervais will come in and like they know what to do. Again, I think 10 days, it wasn't enough time, and if nothing else, it wasn't enough time for him to
mentally prepare,
and also to understand what type of room it is. It would almost be something like if they ever did bring him back, which I guess they won't, but if they ever did, I feel like he would be a lot better. One, the people know him this time, and he would be able to almost play off of how last time went. And but yeah, I don't know. It's tough.
I feel a Netflix special coming up with all these jokes.
I mean, I would watch. I want to watch just him talk about it. I want to see. He's gonna appear on somebody's podcast or something and do a whole breakdown of what happened.
Hey, Joe Coy, want to come on our podcast and talk about it?
Come on down, biggest stage.
You are more than welcome.
Yeah, but no, it's tough. I will just say though, all of that aside, the negative reaction is just it's over dramatic though.
Too dramatic.
Like it wasn't the worst thing you've ever seen, right? There were like 3 moments that were again a little bit awkward, right? And even I would say the third one, like I said, the one about the how the white people steal everything part. The only part for me that didn't land at the end, he mentioned like including the plot of this movie, right? So he basically kind of hinted that like the plot of the movie was stolen. And I can't comment on that one because I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know what he was talking about.
Yeah.
Like, was he implying that there was another movie that had the same plot? I don't know.
Idea.
I don't know. And so I don't know. Again, I think he was overthinking it. He would deliver the joke. It didn't seem to land, and then he tried to cover up by like, "Oh, come on, that was it, blah blah blah." But it just kind of took it. Anyways, what would you out of 10? What's his performance?
No comment.
I would give it a 4.5.
It just, to me, it's like, again, like I told you this before, I was like, I have seen him live. I know what his jokes are like. I'm curious to how it's going to play out. And that is how it played out, I guess. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm still going to see him live the next time he's in town. Like, that doesn't stop me from supporting him.
No, yeah, and I don't think it'll affect him in that regard.
No.
Like, I think his fan base and people who know what he's about. I think
a lot of people are standing up for him.
Yeah. And again, it was nice to see, like I said, I watched multiple interviews like with other stand-ups like Kevin Hart, others. I don't know. I watched a bunch. Because pretty much every comedian who like they could get like walking out of a place.
Yeah.
Hey, what'd you think of the thing? And then I watched a couple clips from like some of them were talking about it on their podcasts and stuff. And they all, again, I think if you're a comedian watching this, and I think it's why we're not comedians, but we host live
in
events.
The industry, yeah.
Right? I could see what was happening, and I felt a little bad for him.
Me too.
Yeah, but again, as I'm watching it, I'm like, it was annoying to me because I saw all of the headlines and all the reactions to it first, and then I went and actually watched what they were actually saying. What they were saying was the worst thing ever.
Yeah,
and it's like, no, it isn't. Like, cool it.
But I think that's the thing, right? Like you and I can empathize with him. Stand-up comedians can empathize with him because we get it.
Yes.
The rest of the world don't. And that's why to them it was like, oh.
Yes. And then when you add on the fandom side of it, of like the toxic fandom behind like
Different people.
Barbie movie, the Swifties, right? Not all the Swifties, but the teenagers.
The ones that came and attacked him.
Yeah. But I'm talking the types of like, especially kids. Like, I don't know. I think it's something like empathy must develop a little bit later, or like kids don't realize, like, you know, when teenagers, like it's why, for example, like
entitled teenagers.
Yeah, but it's why like cyberbullying, for example, can be so bad, right? It's like because kids at school will like say things to each other and then they'll send each other messages, like really, really horrible things. And to them, it's kind of just jokes, you know, but they don't realize how much of an effect you can have on somebody, which is, and I don't know if it's something that you just need to have a bit more perspective on when you get a little like, but so
that's true.
Kids are like, they're ruthless in a way that I don't think that, one, they probably wouldn't be in person to anyone. But it's kind of just a cultural thing where they don't realize.
I also think because of the world that we live in with like reels and TikToks and blowing up, really, like, what is the word for blowing up? I can't even think.
Going viral?
Yes, going viral. Like being viral is such a popular thing right now. And so people will do things, will say things, will act a certain way just to be on top, to be trending, right? Like I know, for example, like if you watch interviews of like someone being like, what do you think is the worst city in the GTA? There's a video that I've seen, and these teenage boys, I have no idea what kind of Toronto man accent they were trying to do. It was just like being really stupid about it and ruthless about their answers. And I'm just here like, one, they attacked Mississauga, and I'm like, I grew up in Mississauga. There's nothing wrong with Mississauga. And the things that they were saying and the way that they were talking, I was like, now you've become a joke. So either you're trending for a good reason or you're trending for a bad reason. And it's the fact that people think that if I act a certain way, I'm going to get these views, and I'm going to be like...
Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, you're right. It's why also the headlines were worst Golden Globes ever, when like I mean, who knows? What does objectively mean? Maybe in your opinion it was, but more likely you're writing worst ever because you know people are more likely to click on it if it was. So again, Joe Coy is also like an adult man. He's not, I don't think he's terribly concerned about like... His
jokes that he makes on his live events are worse than what he said. So y'all can calm down.
Yeah. So he'll be fine.
Calm your Barbie boobies. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't even think I'm allowed to say that. But...
Calm down. So it'll be fine.
Scott's gonna go back and edit it and like beep.
This is live. We're editing nothing. But
you know what I mean?
No, yeah, I think I do. Yeah.
It's just people will do anything to be a trend, to be on top of their game, and to go viral.
And at the moment, saying that it was the worst thing you've ever seen is that thing.
Exactly. Like you have to go against either you go against the grain and you're viral, or you agree with everyone else and go viral. But then it's like, are we going to go viral, Scott, for talking about this? Probably not. Maybe.
Oh, I hope so.
We should title this podcast "The Worst Day Ever," or like the worst thing that happened in 2024.
Yeah, and just see what we get.
Exactly. Let's clickbait the title and see what happens.
We'll find. Well, I mean, we'll definitely have to mention the Golden Globes in the title, I guess. I mean, just so we talked about it. We'll see. But yeah, whatever. I mean, I think he'll be fine. I mean, I guess the only thing I would say is like he should have, and who knows, maybe he just didn't. Even if he got this preparation, I would have hoped he would have made a couple of calls to people who have hosted before and been like, hey, what can I expect? Maybe, I don't know, maybe he did. Maybe still it's like hard to know. Again, it just must feel like garbage to like go up in front of a huge crowd and it's a big stage and you say your joke.
People you admire.
Yep. And like nobody's reacting. And now he got
the reaction, just maybe not the one he wanted.
Not the one he wanted. Yeah.
all I'm going to say is, it's okay, Joseph. You'll be fine.
Yeah. He'll be fine.
You'll be fine. I'll still watch you when you come to Toronto.
There you go.
Which means you should come to Toronto.
Has he come to Toronto? Oh, yeah, he does. You watched him.
He
Yeah.
was in Toronto. I think he was in Niagara Falls recently, too. I know he's doing a tour, but I think in the U.S. right now.
Cool.
Come to Canada.
Yeah.
Come back.
Come on back. He'll be all right.
Scott will come watch you for the first time. And then you'll understand what I mean by his jokes on what he said at the Golden Globes were pretty calm and PG versus what he would say live.
Yes. They weren't even like, I don't know. I just think it's funny. Again, just seeing how bad the reaction was to like the Taylor Swift, obviously because it's Taylor Swift, it gets the most coverage. Mm-hmm. But like people talking about, it's like you think he said something actually, and what he said was so like, I'm like, why are people so...
Like he talked highly about Oppenheimer. Not that no one's talked about what he says about Oppenheimer. He did the whole thing with Meryl Streep. No one talks about it.
Yeah, and the reaction was nice. I mean, I know. Anyway, I feel like we're just belaboring it now. Anyways, it is what it was.
Moral of the story, good job, Joseph.
Good job, Joseph. All right, let's wrap up. Where can people find you, Regine?
You all can find me on my YouTube channel for The Pageant Sit Down. We haven't gone live in a while, but I promise in 2024 we will have someone coming in very shortly, so make sure you tune in. Link is in the description. You can also find me on TikTok and Instagram at It's Regine Alaina. And pageant season is here in full force, and my calendar is filling up. But if you are interested in pageant coaching, you can find me at pageantcoaching.reginealaina on Instagram. My link is there where you can book your 60-minute session with me.
There you go.
Scott.
Yeah.
Where can people find you?
You can find me right here where you're watching this very video, youtube.com/Scott Dion Brown. It's where you get the gaming. It's where you get the podcast. It's where you get
Things
music,
Scott bought.
Things I bought. You can hear about the latest trends.
Latest and greatest.
YouTube.com/Scott Dion Brown. You can also find me on Instagram and X right there, Scott Dion Brown. Follow the show, The Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown on TikTok. Sit Down with SDB on Insta. Sit Down Scott on X. Give us a follow. Swifties, don't hate me, okay? But it was a little toxic, okay? You actually have to look at the joke itself. Mm-hmm. It wasn't even about her. It was about the NFL and how the NFL keeps pointing the cameras at her. If anything, you should be mad at them.
But they won't be mad at them because they're giving them the airtime that they're looking for.
Yeah. So just, come on, get over it. Everybody, thank you for being here.
Yes.
Regine, I'll see you
next week.
Why
are you so confused? And to all of you who are watching, Scott and I talked about hosting a lot together. If you're looking for a host or hosts for an upcoming event in the local GTA, Greater Toronto area, hit us up on our social medias.
We're very good. We'll get the audience on our side immediately. We never bomb.
I don't think we ever have, knock on wood.
Not like for a whole night, no.
No.
Like I said, usually the awkward moment is usually, again, right at the beginning. Mm-hmm. You walk out, the audience is still feeling you out. They don't know how you're going to feel, right?
Yeah.
It's the worst part is it's like if you haven't got them on your side yet, but then maybe something goes wrong, right? Maybe like the show was messed up or like the organizers did something wrong, and then you don't have them yet. Mm-hmm. So it's like...
But then it's also awkward when you do it by yourself. So going back to Joe Coy, he was by himself, and I've emceed where it's by myself, and I'm like, this is really awkward.
Nobody to lean on. Yeah.
It's always better to have another person to bounce back ideas on. So maybe Golden Globes, if you're watching or listening, you should get two hosts, not one. And we're available.
Yeah. Although I still remember, exactly. Although I still remember the worst hosting I think I remember on TV. Was it the Oscars when they got James Franco and Anne Hathaway to host? Did you watch that?
Yeah, I like James Franco, and I like... No, I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah, but that was a really...
If the hosts don't have chemistry, yes, it's going to be a flop.
Yeah, that was very awkward.
Just saying, we're available.
So two people won't always save you, but in our case, it will.
Yes, we're available.
So, I mean, okay. Obviously, the answer would be yes. If the Golden Globes called and said, "Hey, you guys host, would you take it with 10 days in advance notice?"
Hell yeah. You know what I do? I'd be like, "Hey, Beautified by Romina, you're coming to LA with us," or wherever it is.
Jewelry Forever. We need some stuff to get ready.
Did you see? Sorry, I know we said we were saying goodbye, but did you see that there was a red carpet correspondent who was interviewing people for I forgot what company she was with, and I guess she had sponsored jewelry.
Oh, at the Golden Globes.
Yeah, and like it was like a 40,000. I don't remember. It was like a diamond, the big diamond that went missing. And she put like a PSA out on her social media, be like, "Hey, if you're at the Golden Globes and if you see a random diamond, can you let me know because it's missing?"
Gosh, what happens? It must be insured, right?
I hope so.
She doesn't have to pay that. No, probably not.
I don't know, but I just remembered when you talked about Jewelry Forever. I'm like, maybe don't. Make sure it's secure.
Jewelry.
Or like have a security guard. If like your diamond ring is that, the fact that a diamond fell off a diamond ring and it was worth that much.
Not a good look.
Hit up Jewelry Forever to get that fixed.
He would have fixed it. Jerry would have taken care of it.
And it would have been on tight.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because I guess that is an option. That's a possibility. Like even though they loan out stuff, like things can break, things can go missing, I guess.
But if a diamond falls off a ring, like it must not be clamped on properly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, yes, if they were to ask us to host, honestly, if anyone asked us to host, I've been like, down. Well, I guess it depends.
Yeah.
But there's a 90% chance that we'll say yes.
Yeah. Again, it's just, I guess, you know what it is because he's a comedian, there's an extra level of like, you can't
We're nobodies compared to him.
You can't just, like for example, like us, when we're the hosts, the expectation for us, we go out and like, we just keep the show moving. Mm-hmm. And the odd time we managed to drop something in funny, the audience is almost pleasantly surprised. And they're like, "Oh, okay, this is fun. Okay." But they're not expecting us to make them laugh when we come out.
This is why they shouldn't hire comedians. There's so much extra pressure. Everyone's humor is different.
Yeah. In fact, it makes more sense to just get, like an actor or an actress to come out.
Us too.
Well, yeah. Ideally, somebody who they.
Us too.
Or get us. Hey, nothing to lose. Whatever. Maybe next year, like nobody wants the gig, so there's like somebody who knows. Regine.
I mean, we've seen pageants where they didn't want to hire us for whatever reason, and they decided they were going to do multiple hosts, and then it comes back to us at the end. Yeah. Just saying, hire us.
All right. Yeah. So we'll see you all at the Golden Globes next year, everybody.
There you go.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.